Okay, so we're hitting you and recording you. We're just going to record that one throughout. We'll do a test right here. And
Wow, yeah, okay, I heard that
Oh, did you?
blink, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to tell you, tell me how I sound compared to
Yeah,
you.
that's good.
Okay, and
Yeah.
you like where you are.
Yeah,
I wonder, is this this seems to be a slide setting.
that's what I was just wondering.
Yeah, you're all the way up too.
Okay.
So no harm, no foul there.
Nope. Now we know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we were just doing a bunch of testing, and now we're going to turn that off and do a playback real quick. It's okay if it's too loud, so we can turn it down.
Right. The last week though, it was like blasting in my ear. I was like,
Well,
can't-
surprisingly,
Yeah.
in the playback, it wasn't really loud. All right.
Yeah, that's weird.
Go ahead and throw this back on if you will, and tell me what you think you're getting out of the sound there. Getting it?
Yeah, we're good.
You like
That's
it?
about equal, yeah.
Okay. All right. So. This, delete this. Okay. I hate to try it again, but I'm like, man, I just feel like. I wonder how obnoxious that would be. Actually, it's not.
No, that's not bad.
Actually, what it should be.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. This will last. Okay, kids, we are on. Okay, this is the one that counts. Hello. Oh, it's not. What the fuck am I doing? You think it's my old one and it's touchscreen.
Oh.
Touchscreen. Dumbass.
There you go. Heard the plink again, so we must be
Yes.
up and on.
The plink is plunked.
The plink is plunked.
Okay, we're gonna clean house a little bit. You want to come up with a name for this thing before we proceed?
Yeah, Bookends is too generic.
Right.
It's gotta be something else.
How about songs and sounds and friends and bookends?
Yeah, that works. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds and songs and friends and bookends.
Yep.
How about songs and sounds and friends? Songs and sounds and friends and bookends. Too much. Too long.
Do we really need sounds? I mean,
Songs and friends and bookends.
there we go. Boom.
Songs, friends, and bookends. I am. Yeah, I need one of these bad boys my own self. Okay. And, all right, still good. Oh, we don't, this thing. Let me have a little sound taster. Go ahead, Doug.
4 years ago.
7? Only 7? Okay, one more thing I thought of. And this may or may not offer anything, but I bought them, so I might as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. In fact, yeah, mine fits. Condom for your microphone, sir.
Safe speaking.
Right. Fit. Yep, there we go.
Got it.
Okay, I am wondering. What is going on here? Okay, man. So this doesn't sound loud to me. You thought that I sounded loud?
Yeah, your end was definitely
I'm
louder.
not even hearing you out of this.
Really? I was hearing myself, so something changed. Did I look at this? No?
Well, I don't know. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think we were too loud by any stretch. So it'll be
Okay.
interesting to see how that shows.
It wasn't that it was too loud, it was louder than mine. So
Okay.
it would have been,
Oh, wait a second. Part of this phone's monitor, so that's part of it too. Is that how long is the phone? Main volume, computer, phone. These are both all the way. And our gains are what just happened? Something just happened. I lost it all. There's nothing through here. Check. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, gain means a lot. Check, checkity check. Check, checkity check. It turns out these buttons actually do shit that
wow,
matter.
they're not just for looks, huh?
Right.
Huh.
All right, pad. What is pad? Pad, pad, pad. Say something.
When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the binds.
Are these the ties that bind?
Yes,
Okay.
that's where Springsteen. Boy, I listened to his new album. I'm really unimpressed.
Okay. You'll have that. from time
Well,
to time.
it's because it's covers, and
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
not like the man can't write a song.
True that. Okay, well, kids. So, songs, friends, and bookends.
Songs, friends, and bookends. Yes.
Songs and frongs.
Off to a good start.
Songs and friends and tall bookends. All right, you got notes, son of a bitch, man. This guy always.
Well, I didn't actually. There's stuff on here that I did not research that I wrote down to research. You know, it'll keep, but
Okay.
we got enough to go with. First of all,
Well, wait a second. We're pre-show here.
yes, we are.
You want to say something pre-show? Or are you ready to start?
No, I'm ready to roll.
Okay.
Let's
3.
before the buzzwords up.
Yeah,
let's get this
exactly.
going.
3, 2, 1. Well, welcome to another episode of what we're now calling. What are we calling it, Doug?
We're calling it songs,
Songs,
friends, and bookends.
Songs, friends, and bookends. My fact guy is. I did not say fat. Fact guy. Doug has all the facts. He keeps everything in order. Yeah. I'm John.
I'm Doug.
And what we do here is we just talk about music, what we love about music, what's happening in the music scene, both globally as well as sometimes right here in our fair hometown.
Yep, Toledo, Ohio.
And Doug has been here in Greater Toledo, Ohio his whole life. I moved away for a long time, but Doug and I go back 55 years of friendship. No, we weren't. We weren't friends in the hospital or anything like that.
Hard to believe that we're that old, but
well, we're even older than 55 years.
Yes,
and,
we are.
We were 5 and 6 when we got
Yep.
together on this thing. Hey, you shared with me a bit of music from James McMurtry. And for those of you who don't know, McMurtry would be kind of considered a little outlaw country-ish.
Yeah, that's where I heard that song. Was Outlaw Country.
It was on the actual program Outlaw Country.
Elizabeth Cook's show.
Right, and you said she introduced him as
very grumpy. Yeah, grumpy James McMurtry. Yeah.
Right, and so it turns out that I had an opportunity whilst in Austin, almost by mistake, to see Mr. McMurtry.
Isn't that how it always works? So.
Yeah.
You can't plan these things.
Right.
It just happens.
By pure dumb luck.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about him for me is that I'm a big John Prine fan, and my friend who turned me on to Prine said, well, I know you like Prine, you ought to listen to James McMurtry. I think the connection there, their music is similar enough, but very different styles of play, different personalities, to say the least.
Yeah.
Prine is,
not
Mr.
grumpy. That would not be
Prine
an
is not
adjective
grumpy,
you'd use
right.
for John Prine.
And when I saw McMurtry, I had a conversation with him, and it was pleasant, but you could tell that he did not have the gift of gab. He did not have the ability to kind of engage.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a lot of want to in that category from the stage.
Right.
And then when I was talking to him afterwards, it was a very small environment I saw him in. It was great. I was so excited to meet somebody who felt like, well, my friend said, you gotta check this guy out. I'm thinking this guy's at the beginning of his career or something, and he's our age. He's literally our age.
Well, you said he wasn't really that outgoing. He's kind of, one of the people that you would think would be really outgoing is Todd Snyder.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's really not.
No?
He does his show. He's a great storyteller, but once he does his show, when we saw him at the Arc, I think the second time, kind of wandered back to the backstage door, not camping out or anything, but the opening act was Amy LeVere, and she just happened to be standing there. So I struck up a conversation with her, and I was happy to do. She's also fantastic. There's another rabbit hole we can go down.
Right.
But she said no. Todd basically runs from the stage to the bus. He does not stop. He does not chat. He does not.
Huh.
So I'm not saying it's all just an act, but he's
Yeah, that's interesting. Because he's a guy that you would think would enjoy hanging out and having a conversation.
But it turns out he just enjoys his privacy a lot. I guess. And
well,
I can understand that, because given what his audience must be, that would be a can of worms.
Hey, bro.
Yeah.
Love your shit, man.
Yeah. I think I told you.
I got some really good weeds.
When I went and saw Paul Thorne, he said something about, and I don't know if it was just to get the Ann Arbor crowd.
Right.
But he said that last night he played in Columbus, and he's kind of hungover because a bunch of Buckeye fans got him really fucked up after the show.
Right.
And that elicited a few boos, and he's like,
sure. Well, hey,
that won't happen now. I guess he's clean and sober now. But that's good for him.
A few people going down that path.
Yeah, that's okay.
Who did I see? What's his name? Childers. Come on, I want to say it's Tyson, but that's not.
Tyler.
Tyler, thank you.
Okay.
God, why was I drawing a blank on his first name? Tyler Childers.
Yeah.
Good Lord. This is a bad habit, but maybe it's not a habit. Maybe my mind's going.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, Yeah, always interesting things afoot on the music scene, not the least of which is Dolly Parton
Yeah,
inducted reluctantly
yeah,
and then, upon reflection, enthusiastically into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
yeah,
Your thoughts?
yeah. She belongs more than a lot of people who are already in there. That's my thought.
Yeah, well, the derivatives I think the Rock and Roll Museum is probably misnamed.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
turned into
it's
the American Popular
well,
Music
it's
Museum.
turned into, and this is going to sound really cynical, but I truly believe it. It's turned into the people who have made Jan Wenner a lot of money museum.
Fair enough.
Um,
And for those of you who don't know, Jan Wenner is the publisher of the Rolling Stone magazine.
yeah, and one of the founders of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which started off with what's that line from the Bob Dylan song? It sure was a good idea till greed got in the way.
Well, doesn't it always?
Yeah,
At every turn, in my little world of blockchain, the world just blew up. I don't know
yeah,
when this will air. With what was a good idea and everybody spreading a bunch of money around and a little greed got involved and all of a sudden it just blew up because it was built on toothpicks primarily.
But I mean, in all seriousness, when you look at the people who are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they've all appeared on the cover of Rolling Stone more than once. And
Is that a fact?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, so
And on the other hand, there's no Mount the Hoople isn't in there. I don't believe T-Rex is in there. I mean, how do you have
Right.
a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame without those? And that list, we could sit here for an hour and go over all the people who aren't in it that should be. But
I haven't paid that much attention as to who should be. Who is versus who should be.
Yeah.
Is Deep Purple in? We're gonna have to take a roll. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll shelve this for the next
yeah,
conversation.
we're gonna.
Folks,
there might
tune in
be.
next
It would
time.
be very interesting to see which iteration of Deep Purple it would be, because the most famous one, of course, is what they call Mach 2 or Mach 3, the one with Ian Gillan and as the vocalist,
Right, Ian
and Roger
Pace,
Glover,
Roger
and
Glover,
I think Ian
and-
Pace
and-
and Blackmore
and Black- yeah.
kind of went on further, but
Right.
um,
But yeah, that would be
Yeah.
what I would think. When I think
Yeah,
of Deep Purple, I
that's
don't
what
even
I
know
think
what
is-
other iterations.
is Smoke on the Water and blah blah blah. Well, there was I think Hush and Kentucky Woman they did that was very early on before
Right.
Ian Gillan.
Oh, is that right?
So
Before
you are familiar with some of their other work.
Yeah, well, no, I'm
That's
not.
just what
That's
pops
not the
in-
later
that's-
work.
right,
that
that's
I'm
what comes into
familiar
mind,
with.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they did Burn and Stormbringer, and I think that was the last album that I bought.
Okay.
Then they lost me.
Yeah,
So-
I love bands that integrate the organ, particularly the B3, but doesn't have to be. But
John Lord is fantastic.
yeah, just love that groovy, organ sound.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And once the Who incorporated that in '79 or whatever, the first tour
Right.
that we saw him on was the first tour that Rabbit Bundrick, who played with a lot of other bands, but became a permanent member, and that it did add a lot to the Who's music, even though in the original recordings there was no organ, but he added a lot to it.
Well, I just think it brings a lot to the sound.
Yeah.
And I love
And as
any
you said,
band,
especially the Hammond.
I'm a huge Allman Brothers, fan. I'm a huge Steve Winwood fan. I just love, just even the electric piano style of the Beatles late with
Billy.
Billy. Thank you.
Yeah.
God, I'm
Glad to
doing
help.
it again. Billy Preston, the great Billy Preston.
Yeah.
And
also played with the Stones.
Who
in
also
the
played with the
70s,
Stones? The
at the
Stones
72,
used keyboards
79.
throughout.
Yeah, they did. But boy, when he joined, I think he and Keith hit it off really well.
Yeah, well, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both have great smiles.
Yeah.
I think Billy did a lot of fun partying.
Yeah. I believe so.
Yeah.
Enough said there.
Enough said there.
So I wanted to circle back to something that you mentioned. I don't remember if it was last week or the first time, about how Toledo and the musicians collaborating and are glad to share of their time and glad to share. And I was trying to come up with a name, and I didn't say it at the time because it was going to bug the hell out of me. Until I found a guy named Derek Hoke, who opened for Elizabeth Cook at the Arc. And one of the reasons I missed some of her set is because I ran into him in that back area, and I was just standing there talking. Very interesting. He's from East Nashville, which is kind of the cool part of it, you know. And
where Todd hangs out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Actually,
And
he moved to Memphis.
Oh, did he? Okay. Well, so Billy Strings is
yeah.
now.
But he said that community is really tight, and it's that way. But you don't just walk into East Nashville and become part of that.
No.
He said that.
Sure.
He said that as a general rule, you have to be there paying your dues for 3 years, and then you're welcome to the club.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I'm not certain that that's not the case here in Toledo. Aaron Crott, who I love to death, you know, he was a guy like me, you know, who's got the corporate job and you know, just loved to play and decided to put him in a position.
Is that the guy? Where did?
That was at I'm going to see him tomorrow because it's there. I'm going to invite you to it. But at the Cocoa.
Oh, that's tomorrow?
Kara's Cocoa House.
You're going up there tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
That might be a good idea. Yeah.
We might cut that part, we might not.
Yeah, we might not.
But,
yeah.
but
we may revisit it next week and have a recap.
Right, but Aaron, you know, he was playing open mic. He's been around 3 years before he started, you know, playing professionally and really kind of going all in. I'm getting there. I think I'm not maybe 2 years in, not quite 2 years in. Pretty close. I guess I'm not really playing out that much, but open mics and stuff. I'm pretty close to 2 years, and so yeah, that's where it's going. But you know, and there's people are always welcoming, you know, to guest on their stage or to do an open mic. It's another thing to. You know,
to actually collaborate.
Well, to collaborate
serious,
exactly, and of course, you know, you got to have the chops. You know, somebody's got to do your stuff and all that stuff. I can't imagine.
Well, and I think that's what Derek was talking about. Is people think, man, it'd be cool to live in East Nashville and hang out with Elizabeth Cook and Todd Snyder, and no, it doesn't work that way. You got to have the chops, and you got to put in your time. And the reason he says it's 3 years is because he gave me a number. I don't remember what it was. But he said that actually weeds out 75–80% of the people because they can't hang for 3 years because they don't have the chops.
Yeah, we'll have to play this Chris Christopherson song here. You know, where he talks about the song that he stole from the devil. And
oh yeah.
That's, you know, you've been at this for a while, haven't you? You know, you ain't making any money, are you? Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the way.
The devil, isn't that the guy that lost the fiddle contest to a drunken hillbilly?
Right, exactly. Boy, he's off reference, but that he comes through shining all the time, just shooting himself in the foot. There's got to be a victor in that, and it's rarely going to be the devil unless you're writing a really dark. Piece.
Unless you're doing death metal.
Right, exactly. Then hail to the devil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Death metal. Well, you know, we were talking about the idea of coming up with, you know, kind of a list of strange and interesting collaborations. And I don't know. You want to take a stab at some of those?
I mean, Johnny Cash and just about anybody. I mean, he did some collaborations that make you go, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is great, because it comes again to what we were talking about last time, where genre doesn't matter. What matters is quality. If it's good, it's good.
A good song is a good song.
Yeah.
And he did. Other people, Willie, same thing. You know,
here's a collaboration for you that I was just as I was moving on my CDs after you put the bookcase together for me.
Right.
I forgot I even had it because it's in one of those narrow little cardboard. But Billy Joe Armstrong and Norah Jones singing the songs of the Everly Brothers.
Wow.
Yeah. That's an interesting one.
The Everly Brothers, what an impact. I mean, you know, basically, you know, made Paul Simon what he is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it had a profound impact on Paul Simon. We were just talking about the Everly Brothers when we were talking about about David Crosby.
Right, yeah.
And
you said that he used to do the third part of the
Yeah.
2-part harmony.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That would come in handy later. Not that that's obviously they're brothers, so that's not a collaboration. They are. They
Right,
act.
right.
But you go back to some interesting collaboration. Johnny Cash had a show, so
Right,
I
yeah.
think having that show
almost, yeah.
led him to have a lot of interesting
And
people on there.
I think
Dylan was a great
Neil
collaboration.
Young.
Right,
Clapton.
young Eric Clapton. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean he invited a lot of people onto the shows. TV was cool back then.
Yeah.
Because
no, I'm sorry.
variety shows. I mean that whole concept of a variety show. You don't see a band on television unless it's on late night.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
one of the talk shows late night.
Right.
Or Saturday Night Live, or who's got the daytime talk show? The gal that won some contest, and the singer, and I'm a country singer, and I don't know her name.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. If I turn on the TV during the day, it's the NFL Network.
Right, you wouldn't know her by the TV.
Yeah.
She made it on one of those like American
Oh,
Idol.
yeah. One of the first ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, my old boss was such a
Oh.
huge fan of hers. And she did that song. She kind of, and it's actually a good song. It's Since You've Been Gone.
Yeah,
Her breakout
Isn't
song
that
after
terrible?
American Idol. Yeah, shame on us.
This is
but
why
it's
why having a production assistant
Yes,
would really
yeah.
make us, and
Hey,
everybody
Chuck, look this up.
and everybody's
Yeah.
listening to this going, yeah, what we'll do is we'll just flash your name on the screen. Beep beep. Hey idiots.
Yeah.
It starts with a K.
Kelly Clarkson. And
Oh,
I didn't even look it up. I
you
was
did.
just getting ready.
And it's funny because it just started hitting me too.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll edit some parts out there.
Yeah. Back to a good story about the Johnny Cash show. Linda Ronstadt was on.
Yes.
Very young Linda Ronstadt.
Yes.
And they were doing rehearsals, and Linda was wearing a short dress and no underwear. And yeah. And Mrs. Cash sent her away and said, "Don't come back till you put some britches on." I don't think June was really the jealous type, but she didn't appreciate this young
Right.
Linda Ronstadt sitting next to her husband,
Right.
wearing no britches.
Right, exactly. June Carter came from a good
Yes, she did.
upbringing.
And I never realized till very recently that she was the least talented.
It's
Musically.
crazy. The
Which
Carter
is why
family.
she developed the humor side of the act.
Yeah.
Because she did not have the chops that Mom and the sisters did. And she was very entertaining. You listen to some of the Johnny Cash concerts now, and her portion, she would come out and talk, and man, I would have liked to have met both of them.
Yeah, well,
I remember Bono, I don't know if it's in his new book or not, said he called Johnny one day, and June answered, and they talked for 45 minutes, and he said, "Well, tell Johnny that I called and have him give me a call back." And she said, "Oh no, he's right here. We're just laying in bed." And that's just the kind of person she was. She just.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the little she does, and I'm going to Jackson.
Jackson is one of my favorite. Yeah.
It's just it's a great he's talking about when I get to Jackson.
The Snowball Jackson.
Yeah. And make the ladies swoon basically, and she's like, oh.
Yeah.
It just those ladies were something special. Her and I kind of throw Patsy into that, and obviously Loretta very much a part of that. Just unassuming, Dolly, just unassuming country gals who, that Dolly's been married to the same guy for 55 years.
Yeah.
And
adores him.
And adores him, and obviously she could have done whatever she wanted with whomever she wanted.
My wife Cindy is a big fan of hers, and I guess reads up on her a lot. And I guess she has wigs right next to her bed in case anything ever happens in the middle of the night when the ambulance comes. She's going to be dressed and ready to go. She ain't going out. Nobody's going to see her without her makeup, and not under no circumstances. So.
Yeah, it's
Gotta
interesting.
love her, and what the things that she does for literacy, giving away all the books.
Well, she is an icon, to say the least. I think one of the great American songwriters, right up there.
Yeah.
With the very best. Who, it really depends. That's a taste thing.
Right.
You can say Willie. You can say, you can say Paul Simon. You can say Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Mine would be Chris, but
Yeah, Christopherson, very, yeah, storytelling,
Yeah.
prime, Steve Goodman. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't have quite the fame,
oh, absolutely.
that
Yeah.
others do that wrote great, music, and or maybe went too young, as in Goodman's case. But the City of New Orleans,
Oh, yeah.
just a great song,
Yeah.
and
Done by so many people.
right, exactly, and done by so many people that I didn't know was Chris, or that I didn't know was.
I didn't either.
Yeah, was Steve Goodman.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, but anyway, we were really looking for the camera because we're not really recording this for camera. We're on the radio, and for those of you on the radio, you're wondering what the hell are you talking about, camera?
Yeah.
Well, not radio. That we're old.
Yeah, we're old. Yeah.
We understand the podcast.
12:30 on your AM dial.
That's right. CKLW,
Yep.
Motor City. I don't know if we have any license violations for promoting
Yeah.
a radio station, but that's what we grew up with
Yeah,
on
oh,
the
yeah.
AM in the
Yeah.
in the '70s out of Detroit.
Yep.
It was home to to basically that Motown sound.
Yep.
And that helped my
And
sensibilities.
looking back,
growing
there's a
up.
lot of really great AM music.
Yeah.
That came out of that area that we wouldn't think, once we kind of got older and got into the Deep Purple and the rock and roll, wasn't that, but,
Right.
and one of the songs that I still, love, and I will turn up every time that I hear it, is Michael Martin Murphy, that Wildfire.
I don't know that
Yeah.
song, but mine was always rock the boat, don't rock the
Okay.
boat, baby, rock the
Okay.
boat, don't tip the boat over.
Yep.
I mean, that's a great AM tune that you can't help but get a little boogie in your giddy up when you.
Who sang Fire? I'm driving in my car. I know it was a Springsteen song, but there was a female artist who covered it.
Oh,
And she actually did a promo for CKLW in the song.
oh no
She
kidding.
said, I'm driving in my car, I'm listening to CKLW.
Ah,
And it was actually her doing it. So they somehow got her to,
oh, that's funny.
yeah.
That's funny. It wasn't. What's her name?
I'm going to say Donna Summer, but
Oh,
I don't think
oh.
that's right.
No, no, I was thinking. Oh, no, I was thinking. Who was the one that sang the backup on the Eddie Money song? Just like Ronnie Spector.
Oh, yeah. 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 She just passed away.
Yeah. It wasn't her, was it?
No.
Okay.
It was a disco queen.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, she was
Speaking
there.
of women, this is one of the things that I kind of wanted to bring up. I was listening to Nico Case the other day, and it reminded me back at it 5-6 years ago. I think it was Rolling Stone magazine. They used to do their back in the old days. I remember magazine, Cream magazine, and Circus used to have readers poll best of the year. Well,
Right.
and then Rolling Stone decided not to do that anymore. We're just going to tell you who the best of the years was. And anyhow, Nico Case was named best female guitarist of whatever year this was. And kind of surprisingly to a lot of people, she said, well, kind of screw that. What does that mean? I'm good for a girl?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I mean, female music, vocalists are one thing. There, you're obviously going to have a physical difference in singing. But as far as every other instrument, why,
Oh.
you see what I'm saying? Or you see
No,
what
I
she's
think it's
saying?
just, I think what that comes down to, frankly, is, my daughter had a riding instructor that said, you just need time in the saddle, having
Right.
get frustrated, and this instructor said, it's time in the saddle. And I've applied that to a lot of things, time in the saddle, But part of that also goes into perception, right?
Right.
The flip side of that. I mean, any female artist can start at 7 years old and be great at 17 and be spectacular at 27 and
Right.
be otherworldly at 37, just like anybody,
Right.
just like Billy Strings. I mean, and speaking of that genre, I watch Molly Tuttle and I'm just in awe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially when you listen to her sing, just perfection, just
Yeah.
perfection.
Yeah. Nice.
Alison Krauss quality. But then
Yeah.
again, Alison Krauss plays a mean fiddle, so
Yeah,
I
she
mean,
does.
and
Yeah.
as does we were talking about. Help me with the family Watson. What's her name?
Oh, Watkins.
Watkins. Thank you,
Sarah
Watkins.
and I can't remember her brother's name, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were both in the in Nickel Creek.
Right, exactly. Who's reuniting?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Good.
reuniting in 2023. I want to say in March. I just saw a promo for it. So
Good.
yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
That's great. Oh God, it's gonna drive me nuts to not remember her brother's name.
Yeah, I know. I want to say Sam, but that was Sam Watkins was
Right.
a famous Civil
And I
War
wanted to
soldier,
say,
and-
I wanted to say something that I know doesn't make sense. I wanted to say something like Kenny, but I don't even know what I'm thinking. So I know it's not. Sorry,
yeah,
Mr.
well,
Watkins.
yes, sir.
But that'll be great
Yeah.
to see those guys,
Yeah.
reuniting. So I saw them in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I remember you telling me
And
that story.
this was at Bogarts on the University of Cincinnati campus. And we were in the audience, and some lady had a backpack, and in her backpack was a mandolin that she wanted Chris Neely to sign. And I just, coming to know who these people are for
Right.
the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going to worship at the feet of,
Right.
some,
Yeah. Yeah.
19, 20-year-old
Didn't you
kids.
say that she said, "Oh, this is the greatest fiddle player alive,"
No.
and you were like,
Mandolin, but yeah.
mandolin. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, mandolin, and you were like, yeah, and
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
This was before the concert, of
Right.
course.
Right.
And then, by the end of the concert, I realized
You
that
were
her
on
claim
board.
was,
Yeah.
her claim was accurate. And then, we were talking before we came on about a set that I just discovered from John Prine on Chris Thiele's radio program live from here. It's a great set. And I've heard Thiele play with a lot of people, and since got interested in his career, and see him play with Yo-Yo Ma.
Oh, okay.
Good Lord, the hesitancy.
Yeah, I know.
But he's played with so many people. So
Right.
it'd be hard
Yo-Yo,
for you.
well, I was going with the Punch Brothers. They
Well, the
also
Punch
have
Brothers.
something new coming out.
Right. The Punch Brothers, has been his kind of residency,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah, since
as
Nickel
as
Creek
band, since
went
Nickel
away.
Creek, And a lot of great collaborations. There's a guy, you have a show, you're gonna interact with a lot
Right.
of interesting people.
Yep.
But, boy, I don't know how we got from here to there.
Yeah.
Where we
Well,
were.
that's what
we
this
do.
is the rabbit hole we go down each.
That's exactly right. But
Let's talk about, since I wore the T-shirt, and you're probably gonna have to carry the load on this one, but our buddy Todd Novak.
yeah,
He also he flirted with the big time for a while there.
a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple different occasions.
With the Dragsters.
The Dragsters was a derivative from a band that was started before him in Columbus with my roommate. But the band started before I became roommates with Dan Acker.
Right.
The band was called Crying Out Loud, and they had a
Yeah.
guitarist prior to. Don Brody did most of the songwriting, and they played a handful of covers, and they did a handful of their own things. Message in a Bottle by the Police, and just a bunch of a wild mix of
I
stuff.
remember.
Chris Johns was the drummer. I have to mention that on that band.
I remember hanging out. I was at Dan Kripke's, and we were. I don't know what we were doing. Whatever, hanging out. Todd Novak comes in and he says, "Oh my God, you guys, you've got to hear this album. This is going to change everything." and it was the Police Zenyatta Mandata,
Okay.
and he just absolutely loved that.
Yeah.
And he wasn't wrong.
No, he wasn't
was
wrong.
Not wrong.
You know those early days when music was changing in some corners of the world, and there was being a litany of bands, from Elvis Costello to I don't know, Take Me Somewhere else in that, Oingo Boingo, and
Joe Jackson.
and
And he kind of morphed and rode that wave and is still producing great music.
yeah.
But all those bands.
Not the least of which he produced the soundtrack. Did he not with? I thought Joe Jackson was part of that collaboration with. For crying out loud! Here I go again. Dire Straits. Mark Knopfler.
Mark Knopfler. Okay.
On The Princess Bride.
Did not know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was Joe Jackson. I think that was early in his career.
You know what I just found out, and I think you and I discussed this, the fact that Mark Knopfler, after Pure Prairie League broke up, Mark Knopfler tried to convince Vince Gill to come.
Right. You're telling me.
Yeah. And he said, no, I want to do my solo thing. And that worked out for him.
And that worked out for him.
He met Amy Grant, and
Right.
they lived happily ever after.
Right.
And boy, one of my dream concerts would be to go to the Ryman to see their Christmas show every year.
Yeah.
And they do it for like a full week residency.
Oh, wow.
I think that would be great fun.
We were talking last time about the nice guys in music, and Vince Gill would
Yeah,
definitely
he
be at the
sure
top of that
seems
list.
like one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And Amy's been through some things, so God bless her
Mhm.
for that. It's
Yeah, she
when you're
has.
a survivor.
Yeah.
It changes a lot.
Yeah. And she just became a grandmother, so.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
What else is on the top of your hit parade in the music world?
Well,
these
actually,
days?
as we were talking about just before we turned the camera on, it seems like there have been a lot of artists who are releasing older concerts. I just bought Creedence Clearwater Revival live at the Royal Albert Hall in 1970. And, oh
Wow.
my God, what a great concert that is. And my only complaint is that it's not long enough. It should have been 2 CDs and they should have
Yeah,
the whole concert.
right.
And even though I was never a big fan at the time, Billy Joel just released a live album that going back and listening to, I'm enjoying that a lot.
How about that?
Yeah.
I've not been clued into any of these, so you'll have to kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
carry this one for me. Anybody else that you're thinking of that's got something live from a while back? It seems to me like I've seen something.
The Stones
I
just
didn't
released
research
that
anything.
live at the Elmo Combo Club,
Okay.
and which was 76, where that was kind of a hectic time for them because Keith was under house arrest or whatever it was waiting for his trial, and so that was an
Silly.
interesting period. But it turned that live at the Elmo Combo, for my money, is better than what was the other Love You Live.
Okay. The Stones have a long list of great live
They do.
albums.
Yeah.
All the way back to Get Your Ya-Ya's out.
Yep. Larkin Poe. That's what I was trying to think of. Their album just arrived yesterday, and I only had a chance to listen to it once. But it's like our friend Chuck is a huge fan of theirs. And
I am
said,
too.
"Well, and have you listened
Of
to it
Larkin
yet?"
Poe.
I said, "No, but I bought this just on blind faith because they don't put out no bad records."
No.
So
And that's what I was going to say, because Larkin Poe is basically in my mind's eye, is a recipient of the goodness that is YouTube.
oh, absolutely.
And so live albums, I mean, there's so much that's just there on YouTube, and I don't know the rules on that.
I don't either. Do you think that's a good or a bad thing for the consumer? Of course, it's good. For the artist, what do you?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, if something is live and it gets a lot of hits for the band, for the artist, it's almost like free test marketing. Because what you can do is it's always going to be crap coming off somebody's phone,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So if it's good, all you got to do is head that off of the pass of the market
Yeah.
by just going something.
And that's something that I honestly don't know is how I don't know what the quality of the sound is on YouTube.
Oh,
I mean,
it
you
has
can
less to do with
download the
YouTube.
MP3.
Right, it has less to do with YouTube and more to do with the fact that when somebody's shooting YouTube, they're shooting
Right,
on their phone
right.
versus
That's what I'm
the feed off
right.
of a mixing board.
Right.
So, obviously you have a highly mixed
Yeah.
highly controlled sound that can
Right.
then be edited after the fact by professionals,
Right.
right? And then you can put that on YouTube, and a lot of that stuff is. That's where, a lot of people
Yeah.
have their stuff out there purposely on YouTube.
Yeah, and they could take it down if they didn't want it there.
Well,
or
right.
have it taken down.
Well, it depends. So, if somebody's not doing the whole song, can they take it down? I don't think so. I think
No, I think you're right. It has to be
right. It has to be the
yeah,
whole compilation,
start to
but,
finish. Right.
Lawyers, feel free to comment
Yeah,
below or,
yeah.
or join the conversation.
Because I
don't know.
I've found some great concerts on YouTube.
Yeah.
Entire 2-hour long concerts.
Hold up.
Yep.
Edit moment.
I've seen a couple of.
Cough edit.
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Seen a couple concerts by the Killers, and it
Yeah.
wasn't on their YouTube channel, but somebody else posted it, obviously professionally done.
Oh.
So if they didn't want it there, it could be removed.
Right, but that might have been a production company that was doing it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
and
don't
it's not just them. Any band that you like, if you're almost guaranteed to be able to find a concert on YouTube.
Yeah, well, and that's how you go find good music. By the
Yeah.
way, is you just go into you do the rabbit hole, and if you find somebody you don't like, or maybe you listen to something they don't like. Rephrase that. If you listen to something and you don't like the piece that you listen to something else from them.
Yeah.
And if you're just not catching their vibe, find adjacents.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one thing that's good about all these, social media and
Yeah.
web-based services.
If
is
you
that,
like this, you may also like.
Right, exactly.
And I've discovered a ton of good bands that way.
And that, kids, is why Jeff Bezos is a multi-billionaire.
Yes, he is. Yep.
Because
and he doesn't need
not
my.
that he invented it, but
Right.
his company invented
Yeah.
it. If you like this, you might also like that.
Yep. And he doesn't need my plug, but honestly, that's where I found a lot of good bands, is just looking up albums that I know I love and just keep scrolling down and
Right.
they'll be down there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really changed the control of what music you get exposed to, because of course when we grew up, the radio provided you what they wanted you to listen to.
Right.
And
It was, let's say it was professionally curated.
Yes.
And then it kind of became payola. And then,
Right.
So this, it is.
And payola, kids, for you, those of you who are interested in digging into a history lesson, is basically was a legal entanglement that radio stations had with the FCC and who knows whom else.
Yeah.
Over basically only playing certain artists and certain labels because they were paid to play
Yeah,
them.
which was illegal.
Right.
It was the record companies were the ones doing it. Right?
Yeah.
So we're the guilty party.
Right,
Well,
yeah.
no, they weren't just the guilty parties, because the radio stations were also taking the money.
Implicit, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, so
But
that's
now, that's the argument that you and I have had, not betwixt each other, but trying to tell people there's no good music. Yes, there is. Well, it's impossible to find, because it's just a sea of, it's possible to do. You just have to learn how to find music, and it's not that hard. Once you do, man, there's
begin by listening to your friends. I would say because there's a lot of people that friends recommended to me that it took me a little while to get on board, and then when I did, it was like, don't.
Yeah.
And obviously, you are chief among them.
Yeah.
So, friends, Doug Tabner, my dear friend here, is the new music explorer. He's turned me on to a million things, but still loves the oldies but goodies. Still loves the Who as his favorite band ever.
You betcha.
And the Stones.
And again, here's a way to find that too. Is speaking of the Who, Pete Townsend is mentoring and working with a fantastic young English band called the Wild Things.
Right.
And he produced their last single and played on their last single. So one of the things that I've seen it so many times that I gave up even getting pissed off about it is there's the meme out there with Robert Plant saying, "I understand why young people are so mad their music sucks." Robert Plant would never in a million years say.
Right. He's the one promoting new music.
He's the one who didn't get back together with Led Zeppelin because I've done it. I know how it's done. I need to find new challenges and new music. And,
Well, and Mick and Keith and the Stones have been doing that for eons, putting new music on a stage and in front of them as a warm up act.
Yeah.
As long as they've been playing.
Yeah. When I saw him in Cleveland in '94, it was Lenny Kravitz was. Yeah.
It's been Sheryl Crow. It's been
Crow, the Spin Doctors I saw at the Silver Dome.
Right.
And they do. And then often they bring them out on stage to do
play with them.
Yeah, Jack White was another one.
Right. Perfect example.
Yeah. So it's these guys that you're listening to, they're not going home and listening to their own albums.
Or their contemporaries from 30, 40 years ago.
No.
They're not listening to the same old thing.
No, they're not. They're out listening to the new stuff.
And music is to be explored. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And there's great artists that you have to explore. If you haven't listened to outlaw country, and you're thinking, well, that's not my thing. Well, don't. Just try it.
Yeah. There was a time not long ago, 15 years ago, somebody would have said, you're going to become a fan of country. No, never. In a million years will that happen.
And folk, what you would call folk music is making a huge comeback. And the interesting thing about folk music, and I'm saying traditional folk music. I'm not throwing in bluegrass. That's blowing up as well, and that is folk music. But there's also like old style folk where you're seeing racial lines diminish.
Yeah.
Of course, Richie Havens, was a folk, and there was black folk artists back in the day for sure.
And country. That's an overlooked. Charlie Pride was the biggest, but certainly not the only.
Well, actually, Ray Charles was probably the biggest, but nobody thinks of him as being a country artist. But he wrote more country hits than a lot of country artists would ever imagine.
Yep.
But Charlie and Ray and several others knew that country music and R&B come from the same derivative, and that is blues, American blues music, and most jazz and most music forms are derived from American blues music. Our chord progressions are primarily American blues chords, and things have, and that obviously influenced the British scene from the early '60s. That then in turn created the British invasion.
Their thing is, we just repackaged American music and sold it back to them.
Right.
And that's exactly what they did.
So
and there's one thing just to add on there. Pete Townsend said that and part of that deal though was that we had to sing in American.
Yeah.
Can't sing with the British accent.
Can't sing with that accent.
And it's kind of interesting to hear some of the people who do. It doesn't happen a lot, but a few.
No, but obviously the Sex Pistols, but Herman's Hermits. I mean, that was a British accent, for sure. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you're a person of color and you like, I'm not into that, look around. Because you're going to find people of color in music. There's a great special I saw Sunday morning, CBS Sunday Morning, about the black punk movement.
Yeah.
And which it's now like 25 really kind of years old from when things really started happening down in I don't know if it was East New York, or if it was Harlem, or exactly where. I know they had a kind of a reunion concert in Harlem, so I'm going to say it was Harlem here this last summer. But it's you're going to find that if you let your guard down and say, well, I only do hip hop, or I only do country, or I only do this, or I only do that.
I refuse to do on the flip side. Is I will never do country.
Right, exactly.
Never do.
Well, that was me. I said I would never do country, and I said I would never do.
You and I talked about this before. What the hell? We were in high school listening to the Stones and what have
right, and they were playing country.
And not only that, but we thought we were too cool to listen to country. And now it's like, holy hell, the music that was going on in country music at that time.
I played all the time.
The Willie Nelson, the Highway. Well, the Highwaymen came later, but all the members of the Highway. I mean, man, that was as badass as any rock and roll song.
Sure, absolutely. Those guys were all badass. A lot of them were junkies,
Yep.
And so there was no difference between them and what was happening in the rock scene. We just didn't see it. Now there is one music form that I will continue to have a hard time with, and that is heavy metal hair band rock.
Yeah.
And that and its derivative, which is the screaming guttural,
I think I've
with
gotten a little softer with
triple
age, and
bass.
I'm willing to admit that there is a place for that, but I don't see me ever going down that hole either.
Well, here's the thing. What they do that intrigues me the most is that the best of them incorporate like jazz elements where
Yeah.
timing is a bitch, man, and their drums and
Yeah.
it's very progressive jazz kind of riffs done fast and loud and power chord over, just riffing.
Right.
And that stuff intrigues me because it is artistic and it just, I can't get past the screaming.
Yeah.
And of course, that's the kind of better of it, because what's actually interesting about that is that that's my own bias. But when I'm exposed to the lyrics, I go, oh yeah, that's wow, you know. And when I'm exposed to the strip out the yelling and strip out the amplification and get to the raw playing, and you go, wow, So that's all there, but it's just there's a coating of black lacquer that's sprayed heavily on top of it.
Yeah.
And
well, it's kind of like what Townsend said about the Clash, who ended up becoming his favorite band. I think he was talking about Clampdown on the London Calling album, and he said, it's a loud screaming and you can't understand anything. Well, then once you read the lyrics, and now you can kind of understand, the singing.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah. Oh, Pete.
Yeah, God bless him.
God bless him. Well, I don't know. Are you keeping track of the time?
We're at about 50 minutes right now.
Yeah. Well, minute-wise, I think that we'll have some editing out of this, including this very part that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, another thing that I wanted to bring up is on the flip side. There's certainly nothing wrong with listening to old music. I bought probably the Three Dog Night that I listened to the most was Around the World with Three Dog Night.
Right.
I just found that on CD. I ordered it, and it was funny. I bet it's been 30 plus years since I heard that. I put in the CD, and I knew every note. I knew every audience interaction. And man, you just never forget it. And that kind of led me into my sister Brooke. Her favorite artist for a while was Leo Sayer.
Yep, you make me feel like dancing.
Yep. And I brought up a best of Leo Sayer and listened to it, and I was just sitting in my lazy boy and closed my eyes, and I'm telling you that I was back in her apartment. Listen, I mean, music can be such a time machine.
It is.
If you let it, if you want it to be. And that wasn't even intentional. I was just listening to, I don't even remember what song it was. It might have been a one-man band. I don't know. But I was back in that apartment, and that's what took me there.
Yes.
It has that power.
Well, and I've certainly experienced that. Absolutely. Listen to a song and be in a place in an instant.
Yeah.
And because something of a song will just stick in your head, forever. And just even thinking about that now, you don't even require the song. You just the thought of it will take you back to a place. And of course, when you mentioned your sister, all of a sudden I was placed looking down at the lake, walking down, and she's on a raft.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a floaty between the dock and the raft.
Yeah.
Out there just tooling around.
Yep.
But
that was her happy place.
That was her happy place. Yep. That's for sure.
Glass of sangria.
Right.
Yep.
In one of those colored plastic.
Yep, because no glass allowed on the beach.
Exactly. So that's a little, and so we'll have to show a picture of the lake, but we grew up in the same neighborhood, and behind his house, they owned the lake that, because the highway was built into a farmer's
US
field.
23.
Yeah, US 23 going through Sylvania, Ohio, right before you enter into Michigan. You'll see a little lake right before.
Triangular.
Yeah, right before crossing over Holland, Sylvania Avenue and some railroad tracks, and just before you see Flower Hospital on your left, you look back and you'll see that lake. And we grew up on that lake. We grew up swimming on it. We grew up ice skating on it.
Playing hockey.
Yep, and we listened to a lot of music down there.
We sure
and,
did.
As we got older, we listened to a lot of music, and we drank a lot of beer, and we smoked a lot of weed.
And that song is actually enshrined in song.
In a song from the Cowlicks,
From the
which
Cowlicks.
we
Look at
never
us. Here we are.
circled back to the
Yeah.
Cowlicks. So our
Yeah.
dear friend Todd
Yep.
Novak, so he goes to New York, you know, with Crying Out Loud. They become the Dragsters and start playing surf, you know, alternative new surf music.
Well, he told me that song Waikiki.
Not familiar.
Well, it's on that album, and he told me that was doing really well. It was a #1 song along the Eastern Seaboard for what they were.
They got on MTV.
Yeah,
and they almost
were
made
this close, and the record company decided to pull all their support of every band and give it to, and it was a rap star that
Oh, is that right?
now.
Oh, okay.
But he said that's what happened.
They
Is we
lost
were
her.
well on our way, and they just pulled all the support, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, well, so then Todd later makes it in alternative country in
Yeah.
in California, and
Yep.
that was pretty funny because I had not seen the man for 25 years,
yeah,
or something like that, 20 years,
Yeah.
and I was out on business in with a company called Barracuda Networks in Campbell, California, and Todd and his wife lived in the valley. His wife, Jasmine.
Jasmine.
An absolutely darling gal, and so they had an album that won the California had their
That's
own
right,
music awards,
yeah.
and they won an album of the year award
The
in
different
2005.
CMA.
Right, exactly. For the alternative country category, and it was a great album.
Yeah,
it was a really good
Fantastic,
album.
Yeah.
Todd
And it was right shortly after his mother passed away, so there's a lot of that sentiment on there.
Right. And was that song in that one or their second album?
That was the first one.
It had the song about
The Number.
was
was
the
on
number.
first
Yeah.
one.
So this song, The Number, references Tabner's Pond.
Meet you tonight beside the dock at Tabner's Pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of meaning in that song
Yeah.
for obviously the two of us. We were there long before Todd came along.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He moved
Yeah.
in the area maybe
High school-ish,
well,
wasn't
it was definitely high school, maybe freshman year.
Yeah.
And he was in the class between us.
Yeah.
And then so Todd's getting ready to do a second album. Right? Maybe it was an album on his own, or I forget the exact circumstance. But I was out there, and so he says, "Let me play this song. I just wrote it, and the song was Jimi Hendrix Owes Me $10."
Yeah, that was on a.
I don't know if it was the second or
It
it's
was
an album he did after.
No, it was a second Cowlicks album. Psychedelic.
Yeah.
Boy, shame on us. Psychedelics. Yeah.
It was something. It was something space psychedelic.
Yeah.
Meteor shower.
Yeah, something. But yeah, shame on us. But anyhow,
Yeah.
we can only remember so much.
Well, and we do remember a lot,
do,
but we also there's a lot that's right behind a secret door that we can't seem to access sometimes, and we haven't been.
Psychedelic service station.
Psychedelic service station. Good call, brother.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah. So Todd is
Jimi
retired.
Hendrix Owes Me $10 is a great song.
It's a great song, and he had just wrote it, and I was out, there on business, and we got together at his house. Then we went out to dinner at Half Moon Bay, at the Half Moon Bay Brewery. And that was interesting because, as I think I told you, this is the longest my hair has been, by the way, since and you're not seeing this unless you're seeing the video. But I was in the Marine Corps back in the early '80s, and so when I was 19, went in, or almost 19. I turned 19 2 weeks into my boot camp. And so when I shaved they shaved my head. It hadn't been this long since before then. And at any rate, so when we go out to dinner, I feel like you know, everybody in the audience is turning and looking. In the audience, in the restaurant, is turning and looking at us walking in because they assume that Todd is a rock star because
Yeah.
he looks like one.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And Jasmine
Or at least he did.
is you know, tall and blonde and gorgeous, and just
And
looks
then there's-
gorgeous. And then there's me.
Yeah, there's
They must think I'm the Jewish agent or something. And I'm not even Jewish, but I could pass. And
The road manager, maybe.
yeah, well, I don't know.
Whatever.
You know, I grew up close enough to the Jewish community and have a million Jewish friends that I feel like I'm an honorary Jew. So anyway, yeah, that takes us back to Todd, who himself became a prolific songwriter.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Todd has written
yeah.
a lot of good music.
Yeah.
And
His solo album was really good.
he also did a 4 song mini album.
That's right.
That was a compilation of Ozzy and
Yeah. And Ozzy heard.
yeah, and Ozzy, yeah. So, but yeah, he was countryflying.
Yeah.
He was doing some alternative country to Black Sabbath and Ozzy, and then you know, he's up in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Ozzy's down
And he
in
made it
LA.
work.
Somebody asked him about it. He gives the guy a copy. That guy knew somebody in the biz down
and
in
it
LA.
kind of worked its way up the food chain.
Copy found its way to Ozzy.
Yeah.
And Ozzy said something like, "It's fucking brilliant."
Yeah.
That was a terrible Ozzy.
Well, but yeah.
That's fucking brilliant. All right, sorry, Ozzy.
Yeah.
I did my best. I don't have quite the English brain damaged.
Yeah, that's the key part.
That's the key part right there. Yeah, you can't make that shit up.
Everything's still working.
Right, exactly.
So.
Yeah, a little too well. Anyway, I don't know. Any closing thoughts?
No, but when you were talking about people of color and I was sitting here trying to again drum it up and I can't. There is a guy last name of Lee, an Asian country guy that I've been hearing on all country, and I never would have known that until I looked him up because I like the music so much, and it's like, so yeah, there's you don't see that a lot.
Of an Asian country, American country music.
Yeah.
No, not outside of a karaoke.
Yeah,
That's terrible. Sorry.
Yeah, but
Did I say that?
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I have stumbled across recently is these not songs for a change. What is it? Music for a change. They're big. They're collaborations. They're worldwide collaborations.
Yes. Yeah.
What are they called? Oh, for crying out loud! We'll have another graphic that flashes.
Yeah.
Idiot. It's called. But anyway, I've been posting them, but we're using my my phone as a camera, so that one. So I can't look it up. And playing for a change.
That's it. Yeah.
Playing for a change, or playing for change. Maybe there's no in there. Man, I'll tell you what, I've just heard some great things lately, and there's been a lot of participants, Robbie Robertson, Carlos Santana, you know, there's been a bunch of genres that have been covered. This is great.
Yeah.
I don't know, have you heard one that really kind of grabbed you?
The Santana one.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
I caught one that had, Ben Harper. Oh my God, this was so good. This one had Ben Harper and Taj Mahal and a handful of other people that I just absolutely loved. I've never seen Ben Harper, but I did see Taj Mahal at a free concert. Seems to me like I saw Taj Mahal another time after that. I don't know if he was at the Clapton
Well,
Crossroads
he
Festival.
also played with the Stones right around
Well,
that era.
Yeah, he definitely played with the Stones. I saw him at a free concert outside of UC. There's a park, a city park right outside of the UC campus, just north of campus, and he was at a free concert. They were doing a concert in the park series that summer throughout Cincinnati, and Taj Mahal. God, that was good stuff. Yeah, I had my blues kick for a while.
Yeah.
There was some great blues. You know, he's much more than blues. You know, Taj is kind of like, you know, not quite as Narlands as like a Keb Mo, but kind of has
Yeah.
that, you know, that kind of upbeat kind of blues, you know. But don't, but you,
Yeah.
okay. My mind is going somewhere, but I'm not
What are your
exactly
thoughts
sure.
on Trombone Shorty? You
Oh
know,
my
he
God,
played
love,
at the
love, love.
Peristyle at the zoo like 3 times in 2 years, and
You saw him?
nah,
Ah, yeah. If he
Yeah.
comes, we're going.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I
won't
love
miss it the
trombone
next
shorty.
time.
Love the trombone, by the way.
Yeah.
And you know, we've already talked in this show about having seen Wynton Marsalis and the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra.
Yeah.
But the trombone section was to die for. They had 3 guys, and they were just fantastic. I love a great trombone solo.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful instrument. The trombone shorty, man, he's just fun.
Yeah. That's
I
the
mean,
thing about his music is it's fun.
Well, I think that's, you know, that's,
Part of the
That's-
trombone is fun sound.
it is a fun sound, and you want.
You can't take it all
right.
too seriously. I mean,
Right,
unless you're
exactly.
performing. But
Right.
yeah, for the consumer, for the listener, yeah, it's a fun instrument.
You almost can't think of it without thinking of where it is best utilized, which is to me that New Orleans, you know, kind of anything coming out of New Orleans has got to have